Well, it's been a busy, busy week. Last week, we didn't get a chance to catch up with our guy, not only the host of Mark Alford's America here on the mighty 95.7 at KCMO, but also our representative here that does good for the, he does good in the hood. He stated on his Twitter, on his X, I stand with President Trump, wrongfully prosecuted and wrongfully convicted by a deeply corrupt and compromised district attorney, Alan Bragg, and Judge Merchan. Man, if that's not the truth. So let's bring him in. Representative Alford, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good to be with you. We are in the middle of votes here. We're voting on the House appropriations for military construction, and very happy that we're getting $144 million for new barracks at Fort Leonard Wood. So I'm very happy about that.
I'm going to have to call my mother today, who's 91 years old. She's going to be 92 this month, still fishing off the dock in northern Wisconsin every day of her life. My dad was stationed in Fort Leonard Wood, and every time I tell her I'm on my way down to the Redneck Riviera, to the Lake of the Ozarks, she says, "You know what? We went down there once when your dad was stationed at Fort Leonard Wood." So that will make her very happy. Sir, I want to ask you about what's going on Capitol Hill today. Matt Gaetz really grilling Merrick Garland, talking about judges that make political campaign donations to political parties over and over and over again, then taking it to Merrick Garland about the daughter of Judge Juan Merchan making money and profiting off of Trump merchandise and bashing Trump and doing all of these things that should have seen a judge recuse himself. And I don't say this very often, but today I was proud of Matt Gaetz and how he brought it. What's your conjecture on what's going on the Hill right now?
Well, he's really spot on this. Look, we know all along this judge is corrupt, all right? He was in the bag for the Democrats. He still is. He wants Biden reelected. His daughters work tirelessly to raise money for Democrats, some prominent, some not so prominent, so they can gain or regain their office here in the House and Senate, and they can keep this progressive, liberal, woke, broke movement going in America. This judge from the very beginning should have recused himself. I think the vast majority of judges in our system I've got to believe they're good, upstanding people. But you have some bad apples who want to sway the system. And I believe this Merchan is part of the system that will do anything to keep President Trump from getting back behind that resolute desk and being the resolute leader that we need this time in our nation.
It's just stunning. What we saw, what the country's been through, and we live in a time, and I don't have to tell you this, inflation's out of control. It costs people more and more each day to live. And all of a sudden, since the verdict was reached in this sham trial, over $200 million for Donald Trump has been raised. But enough of the money, and the money aside, because we know people vote with their heads, their hearts, and their wallet, right? So this is a good thing. Do you think, through all of this nonsense, that this may have made Trump more of a sympathetic figure, something that he probably couldn't do on his own? I mean, he has a hard time being likable. I love the guy, don't get me wrong, but, for the base, we love the dude. But the fringe, right, the fringe, the undecided,
I get it.
All of a sudden, it's made him a regular guy. He's being treated like a schmuck. They're disrespecting this guy that he was ever the president, and all of a sudden, he has this je ne sais quoi about him that says, look, I'm a regular guy. If they can do this to me, they can do it to you. And I think they've awoken the giant.
Ray, he has been saying this all along. This is not about him. This man gave up everything. I mean, he still has a small fortune, but he gave up the potential to amass even a greater fortune. He gave up a somewhat private life. I know he was a public figure, but he didn't have to go through this. And no, I'm not saying he's the greatest thing ever. I know his personality rubs some people the wrong way. But it's not about personality. It's about performance. I don't think President Trump wants anyone's sympathy. He wants them to start fighting for America, and not just to make America great, but to make Americans great. And I will tell you this, Ray. I have had numerous calls now from people even in the media who want to know, how can we donate to President Trump? I should clarify, these are people who used to be in the media, no longer in the media. But there are people who are getting behind this movement now to save America. We have come down to this. How do we not just make America great again, but we are on the precipice of we're about to go over the edge of no return in America. And I think President Trump realizes that, and I think people are now clearly seeing this two-tier system of justice that he has been talking about, and we've been talking about in Congress for some time now. And now with this trial, the sham rigged trial last week that went, I don't know, how many weeks did it go, 4 or 5 weeks? It culminated last week with these 34 convictions of a president who did nothing more than put down a column that said legal expenses with what it was. It was a legal expense.
Yeah, and for the people out there that listen to this radio station, just to get the other side, and I know we have people that are Democrats and liberals that listen, and we welcome everyone, but don't take this as some great victory, because when they don't allow a guy or his defense team to know what the charges are before they get to the courtroom, and then they don't allow witness testimony, and the judge gets to sway the jurors, because in that courtroom, the judge is the guy, right? He's the star, and this ridiculous moving of misdemeanors up to felonies after the statute of limitations has run out should really scare the crap out of you. It really should. So before you do your happy dance, think about what this looks like, and it will be overturned on an appeal in an Albany court. I'm certain of it. Now, before we get any,
it definitely will.
Yes,
it definitely will.
Before we go any farther, just a little reset here. This is our fighting congressman from the 4th, Mark Alford. Mark, it's always nice to have you here. The Hunter Biden trial, which is going on right now, we could talk about the ridiculousness of Haley Biden, Beau Biden's ex, supposedly throwing this gun in a trash can, because that makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah, throw a gun out. Just throw it in a trash can, right? This guy in his memoir talking about Hunter, saying that he smoked crack every 15 minutes. The ridiculous cloud of filth that follows this whole dude, this Hunter guy, dating his brother's widow. I mean, it's creepy to me. But all that aside, no matter what happens in this trial, and I'm sure he'll get a much more fair trial than Trump did, but now the Hunter Biden camp has come out and said it's the weaponization of the DOJ, and he's being unfairly and unduly picked on. What does this look like for his father? It's his father's DOJ, for God's sake.
Well, this is the issue. This is not the weaponization of the justice system. This is the realization that a former drug addict who was also a wannabe porn star put things on his computer and then dropped this computer off at a computer repair store, never picked it back up, and it became of the public domain. Fox reported on it extensively, and it opened a Pandora's box of information and facts that lead directly to President Biden and the Biden crime family. Payments made from other countries for favors. And that's, I think, what this president is most scared about. It's not necessarily the gun charge and that his son could go to prison for a short time. It's that this next phase that's going to be in California, the trial over the income tax issues, it's going to open up a whole panoply of information coming from that computer, which is not just going to be embarrassing, but I think will directly link the Biden crime family to the disreputable behavior of Hunter Biden.
I like that word, panoply. I'm writing that down as one of my words of the day. I want to use that in my vocabulary. We're speaking with Mark Alford, Mark, today, I believe at 1 o'clock, I think Eastern. I'll have to double check on the time, but Biden's going to address the country about immigration, and now we're talking about, well, maybe we only let 2,500 illegals in a day. And this comes on the heels of 2 New York police officers being shot by guys on scooters. There's been a terrible crime wave of people on scooters that rob people. They pillage. They go about the town and create all sorts of havoc. Well, they find out that this guy was let through Eagle Pass, Texas on July 23rd of last year. And this falls straight on the Biden administration. How much is this just a political ploy because we're getting close to November 5?
It has everything to do with politics, Ray. Look, we passed H.R. 2, the Secure Border Act, more than a year ago. It's been sitting on Chuck Schumer's desk over in the Senate. We have also told the president he has every executive power to restore normalcy and security to our nation's border as it was with President Trump. First thing President Biden did, he came in and he stripped away almost 90 different executive orders that was securing our border or leading to that security, including Remain in Mexico, finishing the wall, other things that supported our Border Patrol. That's all included in the Secure Border Act that we passed. But this president did not want to admit that there was even a crisis. We've had they now estimate over 10 million illegal aliens have come into our country. That is some 13 new congressional districts, if you will. They want to turn them into voters. Those folks who are coming in through the asylum system need to do it the right way and remain in Mexico, have their asylum cases heard and adjudicated. And then if they are rightfully claiming asylum, they have a legitimate case, then they can come to the United States of America. But only 10 to 15% of those cases will actually qualify.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
At what point do we not say to the new president of Mexico, hey, you know what? You've got to protect your border because we've got people that are coming here from Venezuela, obviously, Africa, countries some of us have never heard of before. The problem we should have some kind of a thing where Mexico says, hey, you can't come through our border anymore because this is untenable. It is absolutely ridiculous that it happens. And this guy, how he's going to get up there and pander to his base today and somehow think he's going to make, the Latin vote, which is going away in droves for this guy, happy with what they're talking about. These are not just Mexicans that are coming here. And where does Mexico get held up here? Where do they be? Are they going to be held accountable?
Ray, they need to. Trump held them accountable. He was threatening economic sanctions and other measures that really forced Mexico at the time to concede that they had a role in this as well, to retain those immigrants. Once you stop the flow, they stop coming from other countries. And that's what has to happen. But as long as you're opening the door and say everyone is welcome and then try to get job waivers so that people can come here, have a job, and then you're giving them free housing, free food, free transportation, who wouldn't want to come here? The problem is we've had 30,000 people from communist China come here, and they are not coming here looking for a better way of life.
No, they're not bringing their families. They're not bringing their families. They're mostly single men of fighting age that seem to be here to do nefarious crap. You got me worked up today, sir.
Well, me too. My blood pressure. I'm working on my blood pressure. And I probably need to do some laps around the Capitol building now.
You know what? Reduce the salt. Breathe. That's what I try to do. Buddy, it's always good to have you on. Hey, and I could talk to you all day long, but I know you've got to get back and do the work of the people. You talked about Trump leaving a nice lifestyle and going to Washington, and you did the same thing. You had everything going and all your ducks in a row, too, and then you saw a bigger purpose, so we appreciate that. And I know you always want to leave this conversation with something positive, and I can hear it in your voice. What do you got?
One quick thing, two quick things. Our guest on Mark Alford's America, there on the radio station this weekend, is the Dean of the House, Hal Rogers. He's a friend of mine. He's got an interesting story about his attempt to interview Khrushchev, Premier Khrushchev, because he started out in radio like I did, and it's a great story you'll want to hear this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, there on the radio station. I am about to go to the Small Business Committee. We are investigating the small business administrator, Guzman, and her staff for alleged electioneering, where they're going into Democratic strongholds in Michigan and registering Democrat voters to sway this election. Folks, this is real. Look for it in news reports. This is going to be a big story.
Oh, text me if you find out more on this, because that there, sir, is what we need to know. And we've got to get the word out on stuff like that because, I was told one time by a big-time radio boss, and not at this radio station, that, you can't talk about election interference. And Mark, I'm a guy that comes from Chicago. Don't tell me there's no election interference. I've been brought up and raised with it. Buddy, always great to have you on, man. Have a great day, and thanks for what you're doing out there in D.C.
Take care. God bless, Ray.
Mark Alford. And by the way, he mentioned his show, Mark Alford's America. You hit that Saturday from 1 to 1:30, Sunday from 8:30 to 9 here on the Mighty 95.7.